Hey everybody, it's Tipsy Tuesday. Who's ready for Tipsy Tuesday? What's it called when you do the chicky 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 chicky? Look how pretty!
A fun weekly show where we grab our favorite drink. Salud!
Diana!
I see, it's nice.
We take our bras off.
Somebody just wrote chicken.
And we laugh at people from around the world.
Yeah, I want some cheese and crackers. Of course I do.
Sometimes we even have guests.
So put your jammies on.
It's time for Tipsy Tuesday.
Hey everybody, it's Tipsy Tuesday. Girl, who is ready to have a nice drink? Welcome to Tipsy Tuesday. Hello, Queens, New York. Thanks for being here. It's been a month since I got to watch live. I'm even at home for once. Good for you. I'm trying Smirnoff Ice Pink. I don't know what that is. But I'm glad you're trying it. So it's Tuesday, everybody. I only got in 2 fights today. And so it was a good day. Oh my gosh. Let's talk about the lamp I want to buy. I want to show it to you. And then I'm going to show it to Brandt, our guest, because I fell in love with this lamp. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I was talking about it on the Insta today. And it's this lamp that is so ridiculous. Hold on, let me go to the ratings. So it's this lamp. Is it a lamp or is it a man? Let me show you. Hold on. Share screen. Boom. Okay. So this is a review from somebody that's got the lamp. Okay. So it's a lamp, but it looks like a person. And you can dress it up in all kind of outfits. And they got yellow. They got the orange. This is weird. But people put sneakers on them. Look at him. Look at him running. He's sitting. He's skiing. Guys, it's literally the best. The lamp is everything. And I think you should get it in orange. It's so good. It's literally the dumbest thing I've ever seen, and I love everything about it. So that's what I was working on today. It's so ugly. It's cute. That's what I'm saying. Right? He was like, I just bought it. I love it. So the reveal will be tomorrow. Tomorrow night, we officially start our open mic. We're doing a virtual open mic. I don't want to brag, but according to, hold on. Oh, we have 41 people signed up for open mic. Guys, it's going to be so fun. Listen, even if you want to come and enjoy as an audience member, because I'm almost positive 41 people signed up to be audience members and no one's actually going to go up. So it's going to be an interesting night. We're all just going to stare at each other. But I will be revealing the lamp that I bought tomorrow. So we'll see. All right. So let's get to our guest because you're going to love him. I'm going to tell you right now, ladies, tone it down. He's adorable. He's a fellow comedian. We met in Vegas. Everybody loves him. You can't help but love him. Let me tell you about his background. Originally from Cheyenne, Wyoming, Brandt Tobler is a stand-up comic, an author, and actor. Currently living in Denver, he has toured overseas performing for our troops and has been featured on Comedy Central, Fox, and ESPN. He has recorded 2 CDs, Token White Boy and Ramblin' and Gamblin', is currently the host of the award-winning podcast, The 31, and his best-selling memoir, Free Roll, was released in the summer of 2017. And if any of the stories that Brandt told me backstage are in that memoir, then you're definitely going to want to watch it. So please help me welcome to the show, Brandt Tobler. Hey, Brandt.
Hey, Dina, how are you? Thanks for that
good.
incredible intro.
It is because you're adorable. So Brandt and I worked together when I was in Vegas. So some of the people that were on our Vegas trip may remember Brandt. Remember when I brought
you had a crew,
my friends with me?
I met all your friends. I met your mother. I met your boyfriend. Is this the house you're living in with your boyfriend?
Mm-hmm.
By the way, you have a terrific lamp behind you already.
I do. Well, you
was
can't
like, that
see it
lamp
now,
is
but
hot.
yeah, the Tiffany's lamp. I'm pretty sure it's a fake Tiffany, but yes.
It looks good. Don't tell anybody. But yeah, I met a lot of the crew, and they were so awesome and nice. And you just have built something very special because everybody was so supportive, and they flew out. And I had drinks with your mom, which was fun. You try to cut her
Everybody,
off.
everybody had drinks with my mom,
She
Brent.
had drink tickets, and she was not going to let them go to waste, and I loved
Mhm.
it.
She was supposed to go to church that night. In fact,
Yeah.
after we left you, I walked her back to the hotel, right, which was maybe like a block or two from where we were. So we're walking down, but it is like Saturday night in Vegas. So the whole atmosphere, I think there's a bubble, and they just put a whole bunch of pot smell in the bubble, and so we're just walking through pot, right? Now she had everybody's drink tickets. She had been drinking. She had pot, whatever. Well, we're walking home. She's like, I think we're going the wrong way. I go, we're not going the wrong way. Our hotel's down here. Thank God one of us was sober. So now we're waiting at the light. You know how the lights get real busy, and there's crowds of people like waiting to cross over the thing. She goes, I don't know. I don't know if this is such a good trip for me. I go, this is the best trip of your life. You're 77, you're high, and you're drunk in Vegas. What else could you possibly want out of life, Diana? And then the lady in front of us turned around. I was like, that's true. Everything I said. She's having the best night of her life. And we didn't go to church.
Yeah. Well, you called it. She kept saying, we're going to church. And you're like, Mom, I don't know. We might not make it. Your mom was like, we are going. One more margarita, but we're going. And then let me get one more drink. And for these guys, but we'll be at church tomorrow. And it was fun. Yeah. It was just so cool to see everybody come, and you guys had everything planned. It was, made me feel like a very lazy comedian. I was just tipsy. I do know Tuesday. I'm sad I'm not drinking with you right now, but I'm on day two of Vegas. So I had a long first night, so I'm easing into this first drink tonight's going to be hard. But I have a show in about an hour, so.
All right. Are you with Butch at the show?
No, Butch is. I'm headlining the 8 show, and then Butch is the 10. So I'll see Butch tonight. But I saw him briefly last night, and then I had a sushi dinner. My favorite sushi restaurants here, so. That's how I always start my Vegas week. I did the show, and we had a good crowd for Monday, which I was surprised. Sometimes Mondays are slow, but they were great. And then I had an incredible meal, and now day 2. And I only have
how many weeks are you normally in Vegas?
Oh man, like I try to only do like 3. I try to do 2 a year. Really, I usually do March and then December because I lived here for 10 years, so.
Yeah.
Vegas doesn't do much for me. You know, when I tell my other comedian friends, like, oh, you're going to Vegas, I'm like, I'm not. And it's a whole week. So
that's because my mom's not with you. If my mom was there, you'd be like, yes, I'm going to Vegas.
Yeah, I need your mom to wing woman for me and take me around town. But so, yeah, I enjoy it. Like, my best friend still lives here, and some of my favorite places to eat. And these clubs have always been good to me. This is where I started comedy. So I always, I get to see them's good. But after you've been to Vegas enough times, it's like, I could go somewhere else. But I mean, I was in Rapid City, South Dakota last week, so I was itching for Vegas. It wasn't nearly as fun.
I've never been to Rapid City. I've never been to South Dakota.
Well, you should go once. That's probably enough. See the faces on the mountain, and
I was going to say, is it pretty close to the?
Yeah, that's right. It's like maybe a 25-minute drive, so it's cool. I mean, that's cool to see once. I saw it when I was a kid, so.
I've never seen it. It's actually on my list of places to go.
Yeah, you should see it once. It's their big faces on a mountain. It's cool.
Yeah. It's so funny because I keep telling people, I'm like, I'm going to make this trip to Mount Rushmore. But every time I say it wrong. And I go, who wants to go on a trip to Mount Everest? And every time I say it, people look at me. And I go, the one with the faces. And they're like, that is not Everest. You have to stop saying.
I met your crew. They definitely want to party, but I don't know if there's a lot of Mount Everest people in your crew. They were more.
We're not.
They were more fun. You guys were more Vegas shows, and they were. I don't. Mount Everest sounds terrible.
Yeah, there's climbing involved.
Yeah, and you can't do a show at Mount Everest.
Michelle just wrote a note and said, "Tell everybody who was the special guest when you and Brent were performing on the first night. Do you remember?"
Oh, of course. It was Shania Twain, which was wild. Which was funny because we were in the green room when the other comic was on, and then it was a light first show because it was like a lot of variables. It was just a tough first Monday night because everybody was coming in town for the rodeo.
Yeah.
And then the manager came in and she's like, yeah, it's light crowd, but they're good. She's like, I think part of the, it's part of the reason. And we have Shania Twain in the building tonight. And I was like, oh, she's doing like a show in the arena. And then Cindy was like, no, she's in the room. And me and you looked at each other like, what? And then I was like, why didn't you?
I'm so glad she didn't tell us until after I was done. Because I would be like,
Cindy,
guys.
I said, Cindy, why didn't you tell us? She goes, why would I tell you? I was like, that's fair.
No.
And then I was like, can we meet her? And then we got to meet her. She was so cute.
Yeah,
and
she was.
I think she was.
Have you ever been like weird? Like I get super weird around famous people for no reason.
Really? I know. I mean, it sounds. I lived in LA for a long time, so then I just always. I wouldn't say I'm weird, but I still get excited about it. Mm-hmm. Where like when you live in LA, everyone's like, "Oh, they're just regular people." I'm like, "Oh, they're pretty cool." So
they're superstars. Yeah.
I've gotten better at it. Where I just try to just not make it awkward for them. So I just try to. But I still get nervous. That's like a question I always like to ask people. I'm always like, who? That's what I'll ask you. That's what I say on my podcast. Like, who have you met that made you the most nervous?
Yes. Well, you asking me?
Yeah. Who would you say?
Okay, I have one. So I was working. Wait, Michelle just posted these pictures. Hold on. So this is me and Shania that night. And there's you and Shania.
In my Halle Berry shirt.
Look at us. Look at Shania. Just so cool.
Yeah, she was cool. Well, it was wild to see her in this outfit, and then the next night in like a little bathing suit on stage. And I think she was 60. She's stunning. She was in person. I was like, holy moly.
Yeah, she's so beautiful, and she's so tiny too.
Yeah, she was so little.
Yeah. So I used to work doing audience warm-up, and I was working in our studio one day, and one of the stage managers next door was like, Dina, come with me. I need your help with something. And I was like, what's going on? Like, we don't normally like switch to another studio. Yeah. He was like, come on, just follow me. And I was like, okay, he never does it. So I was like, oh, there must be some comedian emergency, which doesn't even make sense. Yeah. But I was like, I don't know. He's asking. I'll follow him. He's a nice guy. So we go into the studio, and they are actively shooting a show. It was it was like a hip hop show, but it was like a talk show in New York. And so we're kind of going through the audience, and he's pushing people out of the way. And we're about to break through this audience and hit the stage, which I shouldn't be on. Like, I work on another show. Where are you going? He was like, Dita, Adam Sandler's here, and I want to introduce you to him. And then I just stopped short. I was still in the audience. I go, what? He goes, I want to introduce you to him. I think he would love you. Like, you have to seriously meet him. Like, everybody loves you here. He would love you. I'm like, I'm not going just to say hi, like a weirdo. He was like, yeah, come on. I told him all about you. I go, why would you do that? Why would you tell him anything? Like, I just hide in the back. He was like, come over here. I go, I'm not gonna. And I just stood in the audience like a weirdo. Another time, who's the actor? He was on Stabler, Detective Stabler. I don't know. You know who that is?
I don't know. I don't know.
What's the show? It's not Law and Order. It's the other one. Anyway, Brandt, he is a very handsome man.
Oh, yeah.
He's on this show that we're doing. It's like a talk show. And SVU. It's SVU. And I tell some people on the crew, I'm like, oh my gosh, because he was like in a superhero movie or something. And I was like, oh, Christopher Maloney. Okay, gorgeous.
Yeah.
So I'm telling all the camera guys, I'm like, hey, because we never had like hot guys. It was always like really beautiful women. I'm like, hey, we finally got Christopher Maloney on here. And I'm telling everybody, I love Christopher Maloney, whatever. Well, it's the end of the day. I'm exiting the audience, and they're like, Dina, we need you backstage real quick. And I was like, what for? No one ever needs me for anything. Yeah. And I come back there, I turn the corner, and there's Christopher Maloney. And he's standing there, and he's got his arm out. He goes, come on. And I was like, what's happening? And they're like, we told him how much you loved him and how much you'd love to get a picture with him. And I was like, I was mortified. And I was like, you did what? I'm like a creeper. Like, I'll just stay in the back and I'll just creep and watch. I'm never going to go up to anybody. And so he was like, come on over. And so, you do that thing, Brandt, where you like stand next to somebody and you like put your arm around for a picture. Brandt, He had muscles on his
Oh.
that I didn't know that men even had. And I was so
We
we showed
don't.
the picture, and then I was like, what is this on? Like it was I think you could say fondling. And it was wonderful and shameful at the same time.
I love it. I love it. What happened?
What happened?
Looks like your camera. What happened?
Oh, Brandt, you've
Oh
got
no. I'm in the show. What happened? Can you still hear me?
I can still hear you, but we can't see you.
This story. What happened?
Do you want to go out and come back in?
Yeah, let me just see if I can come right back in. What happened?
Right.
What in the world?
I don't know.
That story was so good, and now
It is so good. Just go like leave the studio and then just hop back. Yeah. Okay, he left. Okay. He's adorable. He's a super nice guy. And it's so funny because when you're on the road as a comic, you know, a lot of times you kind of get matched up with people that you don't know. And you find out in a very short amount of time if you're like, oh my gosh, I love this person. I can hang out with them all the time. And so Brandt, he does. He has some great stories. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Artie's working on it. I know. We're not very good at tech. I'll just speak for all of us. I know. Super nice guy, Emery. So I'll tell you this story while we're waiting. So today I got somebody had texted, a guy texted Brian that he wanted to rent my house down the shore. So I'm messaging and he was like, you know, if I do a month, are you going to give me a discount? And I go, well, it's not usually a thing. Because he says, how much is it for the month? And will you give me a discount? So I answer him and I said, these are the dates I have open. But we don't normally do a discount. He was like, he says, I don't even know if I said that. I think I just said, here are the dates that are open. And he wrote back, I'll ask one more time. Do you offer a discount? Now, here's what I'm going to say. If you write to me something like, I'll ask you one more time, like, you're probably not coming to my house. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, haha. No. Yeah. And I was like, it's very weird. It's right, Patty? I was like, you're literally asking to come to my house. And then you're like, oh, let me ask you again. Okay, well, you can ask me 7 more times. But yeah, I can tell you one more time. Yeah, now we're full. No vacancy. And he was like, you know, I can get a larger house in a nicer neighborhood for this amount of money. And I was like, go ahead. We don't want you. I can't. I don't know. Look who's back.
I'm back.
What happened?
I don't know. My computer, I'm just onto my phone now. I have no idea. That story was too hot. My computer got too excited and it just quit on me. It is just I don't know if you can, it just said, I'm done. It said, I guess. So we got this phone. If this one breaks, I got another phone. So we're going to make it. I keep them ready.
Oh, you're the guy with the 2 phones.
I got 2 phones.
The guy with 2 phones.
I don't know why, but I do. No, I have I used to do a podcast where I would do like prank calls. It was called Craigslist Chaos. So I would just get on Craigslist and then I would just call me in the search bar. And then anybody that put their phone number in the search bar, I would just call them and start talking to them about whatever. So I had to have another phone. So I think I'm going to bring it back next week, but it was super fun. But because you just never know where you just never know. People was selling stuff or want me to join the Illuminati or stuff at truck stops, just the weirdest stuff you could ever find. So it was weird.
So you went on Craigslist and you wrote "call me" with your number.
No, I would just write "call me" in the search bar because then people would put that in their message. So then if they broke "call me," it'd usually have their number behind it. So then I would just go through whatever they said whatever came up with a number, and then I would just call that number and just start talking to them about. And then I got like regular characters, and it was going really good. And then I got to figure out the laws because there's only certain states I can record. And, there's always rules that I never follow rules till they tell me. So then I'm gonna bring back the podcast, but I think there's only certain states I can call where I don't have to tell them I'm recording or something. It's a harmless show. I was never doing anything bad, but there's just the more popular it got, the more people were like, "You can't call this." But I would just call. I'm trying to think of ones like I called like a, what did I call? I called like a Beatles cover band and said I was Ringo. I wanted to be Ringo, but I was black. I was like, I'm Ringo, not a gringo. I was like, can I be in your Beatles cover band even though I'm not? I mean, I know all the songs. I love the Beatles. So I just messed with people like that, and it was fun. And just because there's just so many weird people on Craigslist. So it would always, anytime they answered, you just never knew what was going to happen. So it was a
Yeah.
lot of fun. So that's why I have two phones. I'm not a drug dealer, or
I
I
was
don't
gonna
have a
say,
miss.
and you're a lot younger than me, at least by 10 years. But like, do you remember when you could crank call people and there was
Oh,
no caller ID?
always. It was my whole childhood. So
The best.
it
It
was so.
really ruined all the fun we used to have.
Yeah. Was before, I mean, growing up in Wyoming, I never really dreamed, you never even thought about being a comedian. So that would be kind of like my first thing into the first times I was being funny was just doing prank calls because, most comedians, like I knew growing up in Wyoming, I wanted to be a basketball player, which is also absurd, but it was probably crazier thought. But yeah, so we were doing prank calls my whole childhood, and then when this came together, I started doing this. I was like, it was so much fun because I mean, you know how it is. You have to worry about a guest, some idiot guest computer shuts off, they cancel last minute. What I
Yeah.
loved about Craigslist Chaos is I can just anytime. It started during COVID too. I would just be like, all right, let's go see what we can do, and then I could just go record an episode at any time because there's always crazy people on Craigslist. So I'm gonna bring it back.
You should. Did you
Yeah,
ever
it's fun.
see? I think it's so funny. Somebody will call two Chinese restaurants at the
Yeah.
same time, and they're
See,
like,
I
"What do you
love it.
want?" They're like, "What do you want?" They're like, "Well, you called me." They're like, "No, you called me," and it's the funniest. I laugh
Yeah.
every single time, and I've seen it a million times, and I still can't stop laughing.
Yeah, that one's great. Or they do it. I've seen them do it with pizza too a couple times, and it's so funny.
And now, what do you think? I don't know why this keeps coming up in my feed. Probably because I keep watching it. Um, but there's the radio station where they try to catch people who are cheating. They'll be like, "Hey, you won a bouquet of flowers. Who would you like to send it to?" Did you ever see that one?
Yeah.
How do
I don't
they
know if
do?
you I don't know
How
if you want me to tell the secrets of that because people love those. But they're so fake and they're done by comedians. And when I lived in Los Angeles, I would get paid $15 for everyone that I recorded. So I hate to, because I was dating a girl and she was like, "Oh my gosh, this Jubal show, it's so funny. These calls are so crazy." And I just got like my ego hurt because, we work so hard on our jokes. And she'd be like, "Your jokes are like, okay, but these calls," and I was like, let me tell you something. We record those calls, so I hope I didn't ruin it for you. But yeah, there's a reason they're all crazy because I don't know who they hire now, but I lived in an apartment with three comedians, and that's kind of how we survived. Was doing oh my gosh, my girlfriend's cheating on me, or I quit my job. You're not gonna believe this.
Yes, I believe everything.
Oh,
I'm
sorry. I
so
didn't. As I
gullible.
was saying it, I was like, I shouldn't give it away. I'm like
I
giving
know
away
you
magicians,
ruined
but
it.
yeah, but they're funny because they're usually comedians on the other side of them, pre-recorded practicing. But
That's
sorry
so
to give it away.
Yeah, I know. Kathy's like,
I know.
no.
I'm sorry. Well, no, I mean that's how they used to do it. I'm sure they're all real now. They're all real now.
Now, are you as obsessed with the "Am I the A-hole" boards on Reddit?
No,
You know that?
I've never got into Reddit. I wish I can't. I don't know.
But
I
you know what
don't
I'm talking about. You know the boards, the "Am I the A-hole"? You know that, right?
know. What are
Grant,
they?
You would love it. All right, so let's say somebody will go on. I'll go on, sometimes anonymously. Most of the time they put their name, which is a mistake because then some of them blow up. And it'll be like, I was a bridesmaid in this wedding. Oh, here was one. Bridesmaids, okay? They're told an astronomical amount of money, like $800, $900 each to be, and it wasn't even just be in the wedding. This was just for like the bachelorette party. And at the last minute, she goes back to the girls and says, you know what? My dad said he's going to pay for all of it. My dad's going to pay for all of it, but she wasn't going to give the money back. So each of the girls put up 900, and she was like, my dad said he was going to give us money, and then he was going to pay for an ice sculpture. I don't know, but she collected $900 from all these girls, and they went to like Aruba, got a house or something. They get there, and she's not at the house right away. And the girls are like, what's going on? Why are we all here? She's not here. She shows up in a limousine, gets out of the limousine. She got a boob job.
What?
And she wanted all the girls there to help her respite before the wedding. That's what she did with their money.
Wow.
Anne Marie remembers it. Yeah, it was crazy. And so people will go on there and basically they say, yes, you are the a-hole, or no, you are not. This was not on you. So people will kind of unpack these scenarios where, you know, like something happens in your life and you can't really tell your friends or family because they're going to think either you're horrible or your family member's horrible. So they just go on and they might, you know, anonymously put this up. But sometimes they get so big, the stories are so crazy, they get so big, they're like, well, the girl found out that I put this on Reddit and now it has exploded. Yeah, it was a lot.
Well, it's funny you say that. Like, I don't know, I've never heard of that, but the book I'm finishing right now is called The Diary of a Piece of S. I don't know if we're allowed to cuss on here, but it's and it's 50 stories like that are from me and people in my life that they don't want them. They're all anonymous stories, but they're 50 stories. There's some wild ones in the book, very similar on that level, where people are like, I got a story for you, but you can't, because, you know, as a comic, they're always like, oh, you could use this on stage, or you, but over time I've just gathered, and like 20 of them are mine that I just don't want out there because I've done some wild stuff in my day.
I know.
But yeah, that's funny because that's similar to what the book I'm writing, and it's 50. So I just, hopefully it'll be done. I'm trying to finish it this week. But it's kind of similar to that, and it's 50, and there's some stories in there that I've let people kind of read it and they're like, holy crap, that is wild. I'm like, yeah. But
Just
they're
so
like,
you know, like we would be in Vegas and the headliner was like performing and Brandt's in the back. I'm on the edge of my seat. I'm like, and then what happened? Like, he's telling me the craziest story. And then after the show, people are like, that show was great. I'm like, you should have heard what Brandt just told me in the green room. And I was like, there was a whole other show happening back here. So that's probably Wait.
Yeah, I've got some wild stories.
Athena just wrote and said there was a guy with a daughter getting married, but the bride didn't want the stepdaughter in any of the pictures. What do you do? Do you get married?
I dated a girl like that before. I dated a girl here her dad's a billionaire with a B, billionaire, and and it was before Photoshop was a thing, and she dated this guy before me, and he was in all the family pictures. And then he went and had, like, he took all the pictures down and then had this guy just like erased from the pictures. And I was like, oh, he's got money to just make someone literally disappear. But it was funny because then there's like a gap where there's like a tree behind this family picture. And then she's like, yeah, that's where Kevin used to be standing in now. And it looked great. And I was just like, but to do it like to someone's face, I'm like, ooh.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, that's Photoshop's great for that, because one time I went to, one of my friends is Jimmy Kimmel's little sister, Jill Kimmel, and she's a very funny comedian, and we both love Garth Brooks, so we went to this and she was dating this dude, and she was like, I don't know if it's gonna work, and then we had a picture, and instead of taking the picture with we took a picture with me and him in it, but then she put me like on the inside of him. And she's like, I just have a feeling I'm going to want to get rid of him and still have me and you and Garth one day. So there's a picture of me and her and Garth, but only we know. To my right was just like a blank space now, but that's where where Eric used to be. It's one of my favorite pictures.
There's Do you ever see those sites on Facebook where there was one that just was up? I think it was this morning, and people will go onto this Facebook site and be like, can you make this picture look better? All these people are in my shot. Well, the shot, you couldn't see the person's face. They were like clearly sitting on the beach, and you just see these 2 feet and then the ocean, and there's a whole bunch of people in it. But his feet are the nastiest looking feet you've ever seen in your whole life. And he just put in there, can you take these pictures out and make it better? And then they just took his feet out, or they made his dinosaur feet. Like, they're the funniest things.
Oh, they're so funny. Yeah. Whoever does that is like a genius. That's so creative. And yeah, I've stumbled. The internet's magical. I was trying to get stuff done today before the show, and then an hour and a half of just watching I can't even, just the craziest stuff, and I was so happy. I was like, go work on stuff, but I'm just sitting in my bed giggling like, oh, this is awesome.
Did you ever hear the term doom scrolling?
Doom scroll, yeah, I live it.
I never heard of it. I was like, what are you talking about? They're like, you're doom scrolling. That's what that's called when you're just, doom scrolling, Julie. I'd never heard that term before. And then, like, I'm part of it. Like, you saw the dumb light that I want to buy. Did you see the light?
Yeah.
Was it a man? It's so dumb, but I absolutely love it. I'm like, that's going to look great in the back of my open mic or Zoom class. Because
I'm excited you're doing an open mic tomorrow.
So here's the thing, Brandt, is that there's a lot of wonderful people in our community. And I've come across lots of women who are like, I've always wanted to either go practice speaking or maybe try stand up or just, get in front of people. But we had like classes in real life before the pandemic. And there was a nice group of about 10 women that were in our class, and they were doing great work. But on any occasion, 3 of them couldn't make it. My son got sick. We had soccer practice around. So like time is a bit of a barrier. Kids can, schedules can be a barrier. And so for a long time during the pandemic, I was like, I don't think it's useful. But for a lot of women, I think open mics are intimidating. I think for a lot of people, open mics are intimidating. But it's a lot of men. And if you don't know anybody, just walking into a comedy club, like, I remember I did it at some point, and I just didn't really talk to anybody. And I was like, maybe eventually someone will say hi to me. Like, it's just, and I was 30. How old were you when you started stand up?
I was probably, because I chickened out for just what you're talking about. I chickened out for 2 years. I was terrified, and I kept saying I was going to do it. And I was scared because a couple times in life I talked into a microphone. And then for some reason, when I heard my voice amplified, it made my eyes water. So I was like, I can't be a crying comedian. So I chickened out for like 2 years. And then my friends were like, you got to go. And then I had a couple drinks, and then I went, and I actually did good the first time, only because I was so prepared from chickening out. I mean, I did good relatively, but no, it's terrifying. Like, and it's tougher for women. It's a very male, and it's just like, I was talking with some comics here last night. It's tough, and it's not easy for anybody, but it's definitely harder for women. And we made a lot of progress with it, but it's still it's not because the thing is, like women, as they do it more, we all respect like working comedians, but anybody can be a comedian. So you get some of the worst people in the world, because all you have to do is write your name down. It's absurd. Like, as long as you can put your name on a piece of paper, you can call yourself a comedian. So as much as I think everybody tries to police it, I think we've tried to make it a more healthy and more progressive and inviting scene. We still can't control, because just people just show up, and it's there's so many arrogant, and I rarely see an arrogant girl starting up. There's so many arrogant guys that just come in. They're like, I'm just funny. I'm funny. And I'm like, but I love it because they're going to bomb. And now we just sit back and just like, watch this. It's just like a countdown, like 10, 9. I had a buddy the other day. He was like, I took him to open mic, and he's good at tall, handsome, good at everything in life. And I get it. So he's like, I can do this. I was like, okay, I'll get you up. He's like, how much time do I got? I was like, you probably get like 3 or 4. He's like, that's it? I was like, how much do you got? He's like, I can do like 10 or 15. I was like, okay, I'll tell the host just to let you go. And he did about 30 seconds and immediately just said, okay, he thought that first joke would go good. It bombed. and he panicked, and he's done good at everything in his life, and the smile on my face was gigantic, and I was just like, oh, what happened there, king of comedy? You didn't quite make it to 10 minutes, you didn't. And he just tail between his legs walked off, and he was like, that's really hard, and no one has a respect for it till you do it. But I always tell people, just do it, because you're not going to die or anything. It's a lot scarier once we know we bomb all the time, and it just wakes you up. And so I
Yeah.
like bombing. I'm like, oh, we're alive today, because
Yeah.
sometimes I can just go through the emotions. So, but no,
Yeah.
I think it's exciting, and
Well, you heard
it's
me say, like, everybody was like, well, do we have to go up? I'm like, no. I mean, I think that there's real value to going and watching people, because I think inevitably, most people starting out aren't going to do well off the top, but you have
yeah,
to push through that. But there's something important about going to open mic, because you have this idea, I think, going into it, everybody's going to be great and I'm going to be the only one that's horrible. And then you go, you're like,
no,
this is all you got to do, because I could do
yeah,
that. There's just some weird, like, oh, maybe I could get up there. And so I'm hoping that people, will come and watch. And maybe at some point, I'm like, listen, it's a 2-minute open mic. That's it.
yeah,
And if you want to do 30 seconds, do 30 seconds. It's just that idea that you tried, because, if the
yeah.
choice is never getting up on stage, or at least trying this virtual open mic, it's something. And,
No, it's
hopefully,
so important to try it, because then you can talk to us. Like, I have so many people in my life, and first of all, if you really want to be a comedian, it's mainly just reps. So you want to get those 2 years I wasted, that I would be way further along. It's just repetition. And then secondly, whenever someone's like, I want to be a comedian, if you go do it, then we can talk about what happened. How'd your first joke go? Were you nervous? Did the mic cut out with the light? I get so tired of people like, oh, I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it. Well, I can't. They're like, can you help me? I was like, I can't help you till you do it. But once you do it, weirdly, you're like, it's like a cool group to be in. You're one of us. Really, you just have to do it once. If I
yeah,
talk to someone after the show, they're like, I'm a comedian, and they go, well, I'm going to be. I was like, all right, get out of here. But they're like, oh, I am. I did it. I go, okay, wait a second, let me sell my merch, but I want to talk to you, and then I want to hear, because I've been through. So if you're
yeah.
watching and you're thinking about it, just nothing. Even if it goes bad, you still at least it's cool, and it'll get better, or you can not do it again. But at least you said you did it. That's what I have the same advice as you. Just go for it.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. And so it was just funny. People started signing up. It was like, I'm just going to come and I'm just going to watch. And then at one point, there were 23 just audience members. I'm like, listen, I mean,
Yeah,
I can talk for an hour, clearly. I'm happy to do it. But at some point, somebody got to say something. Um, but it's kind of funny. And so, like I said, we have 41 people signed up, and it really is like, we can decide what this is.
yeah.
Decide what direction it goes in and what people are comfortable with. And it was
I was,
funny. Originally, I said there won't be any feedback, right? Because at open mic, the feedback is you suck, like that's
yeah,
it, or maybe some mild clapping. But I was like, listen, I think it's up to you. Like, we're not going to open it up. Like, people in the chat can comment. But if we end up doing like multiple rooms, there'll be like a comedian in each room that'll be hosting. If we have, 60 people show up, 30 in one room, 30 in another,
yeah,
you can ask your host for feedback before you go up, and they can give you some pointers. But I think it's really important. The reason why we're doing it and really leaning into comedians or performing artists, spoken word, is it like you're saying, like the people that have done it a million times, even just these small little
yeah,
changes or hints, you're just like, listen, don't look down when you're talking.
yeah,
Keep
yeah,
and slow down, because you have really good material, but you're going too fast.
yeah.
It makes all the difference.
It's the best feeling. I mean, I've had the most famous people in the world tell me stuff, and just people that have done it like twice, and they've been good notes. I'm like, holy crap, he's right. But you just learn, like, you can get notes from. Well, you learn to ignore a lot of notes, but you just stay open minded. It's just good for life. You just take it all in. And
Yeah.
sometimes it won't be good, but you'd be surprised. I'm like, and sometimes people that are way bigger than me have told me stuff, and I was like, well, that's for you. A lot of times I give notes in life, but I'm really just talking to myself. And I figured out, oh, he's saying out loud what he needs to do. But like I said, sometimes like a younger comic will be like, you ever thought about this? And when I was younger, I'd be like, why are you even talking in my head? And then I was like, oh crap, this guy's right. He's right. Because none of us know. There's no like,
Yeah.
it's not. There's no rules to this. You never know anything. That's why
Yeah.
you just never know. But it's exciting, and I mean, I've been around your people. They're going to be supportive, and I bet some of them will try it, and then it's not for them, which happens. But then they'll also see someone starting out with them, and then you root for. There's people I started with that
Yeah.
just that will always have the connection. We started together, but this wasn't their path. But they get to feel like they've rooted for me the whole time. So when I accomplish stuff, they get to feel like they were a part, and they were a part of it because they were. The beginning is the hardest part. What we do now is easy. Like people like your job's so hard. My job's easy. I mean,
Yeah.
it's easy. It was getting through all that to get to
Oh, that
this.
part. Yeah. So I don't know. I think I told you my daughters and my son were doing
Yeah.
stand up. My daughter does it more than my son. And we had a show maybe 2 weeks ago, and I was giving her some notes. And I think it's hard. I think it's hard to give notes to your child. If I was sitting down with any other new comic, they'd be like, tell me what you think. Like they would love it. I'm their mom. I'm like, listen, I'm not talking to you as your mom. I'm talking to you as a comic. And we were going back and forth. And she was like, why are you saying this? And I go, I'm going to tell you something. I said, what I know now is that when I was starting out, if a headliner pulled me aside to give me a note, it's because they thought I was good.
Yeah.
They thought I was good enough and I was worth it enough to give a hint to. And if you don't show that kind of promise, people won't give you hints.
No.
They'll be like, there's nothing going to help you. This is not good. I said, I always told my kids, if people give you advice, listen. It doesn't mean you have to do everything. You got to really start sifting through who's giving the advice at times.
Yeah.
Let it set in, consider it. But I was like, just know that people don't have to help you. They don't, especially headliners. They don't have to come over. They don't have to say a word to you. So if they come over and they say, can I give you some advice? Your answer is always yes.
Yeah.
And then take it what you'd like to do with it, but it's interesting. I tell her all the time, I'm like, you're a really good writer. I need you to stop writing dirty and write clever because you can do it. And that's the hardest advice. I think it's so easy to write dirty, but it's so hard to really push yourself to just be like, okay, what experience are we both having that I can pull out and make really funny? So
yeah, I mean I agree. Like, well, and it's more lucrative to write clean, but like some of us just, if that's not you, like I'm just a degenerate, terrible person, so I just can't really write a lot of clean stuff because I've gotten that advice before, and I'm sure your daughter's wonderful. And she probably writes clever and clean.
You're so funny.
But I try to. You just kind of have to write who you really are. But I think most of us are really clean. But it is much easier to just like you can just bank on like curse words and stuff, make it easier. But I think it's so cool that she's doing it, and it's such a weird dynamic because you are. I mean, you're a pro. Like you said, anyone would love your advice except for your daughter is like, Mom, I'm. But she'll figure it out. Like I didn't. Again, I didn't. I apologize to people all the time. I was like, you were so right. I'm sorry. It took me 3 Olympics, 12 years to figure this out. So it's just a marathon. But I know now. And they're like, oh, I knew you're an idiot. You had to hear it. But it's a cool world, man. I mean, no one. That's why I'm saying if you're interested in it, just even if you get in it, even if you just get in for a little bit, it's just a world that nobody. It's like a fraternity sorority thing that we have, and now it's come along. The second someone says they're a comedian, you hear the biggest comedians are like, if I'm in a room, I'm just attracted to the comedian, and it's just like it's something cool that we have. So all those, I'm excited for everybody to do it, and it'll be fun. Yeah, it's
I'll let
cool.
you know how many more budding comics and spoken word people we have in our group. So when we first started talking, I had asked Brandt whether he was working with this guy Butch Bradley. So Butch Bradley is actually an Atlantic City guy, and we used to work together all the time when we were at the Comedy Stop in Atlantic City and in Vegas. But Butch is like one of the best guys ever. But Butch has been headlining forever when I was still coming up. And I remember Brandt watching him one day. He was in the showroom. He's headlining. and a fight breaks out between these two ladies. Now, I will bet dollars to donuts that a guy would rather have two guys fighting than two ladies fighting in any audience, because guys, you can just be like, just curse them out.
Yeah.
Ladies, you want to stay as far away as possible from drunk ladies. And so the two of them are going at it. And it was so funny because, you can be doing stand-up for a decade and still learn from other comics. And so he's in this room, he's up there, he's headlining, and these two ladies are going at it. And he's trying to hush this one up. He's trying to hush this one up. But then really, they were about to go to blows. And I just sat in the back and I just was like, what in the world? I mean, there are how many times have you been in a club and you're like, what in the world did this ever happen in human life? And just watching him de-escalate these two women and get them to sit back in their chairs. Everybody loves everybody. I mean, it was like a master class in controlling a room. And it was so interesting. And I think that, when I meet people and I say, oh, people are like, I'm from New York. I'm like, oh, do you go to live comedy? Like, no. I'm like, how do you not? Like, it is the best ever.
Well, it's funny that you say that it is like a master class, but it's like, that's the thing that I was trying to explain it to when I help young comics. Like, it's a master class, but you didn't know when it was going to start. You just have to be there. You kind of have to be around. And then, so if Butch does that, then you watch it, and then you also get the experience, and then you drive home that night and go, wow, Butch did this. I wonder what I would do. And then inevitably that's going to happen at some point. The weirdest stuff happens. I've seen the weirdest stuff and be like, there's no way that's happened. And then it happens again. And then we're pros, and then we just nail it. And then people are like, how did you handle that so good? And you're just like, I don't know. But in your head, you're like, well, 11 years ago on a Tuesday night, Butch Bradley, and you're just like, and you don't maybe do exactly what he did, but it just gives you, I learned so much just on my drive home of like watching other people, or like, that was like the homework kind. I'd drive home and be like, oh, that did good, that did bad, or someone did something, man, I really liked how he handled that. But again, you never know. And if you weren't there that night, you don't get the master class. You kind of just have to be around. That's why the people sitting in the Zoom tomorrow that aren't ready are like, they're going to learn of like when my last night I walked on stage and the microphone immediately broke, which has happened 50 times. And I'm just like, okay, here we go. And I'm dabbling, and I could feel them scrambling behind me. And where in the beginning, you're like, so many times it's broke or something like that, or a cordless mic, the battery's cut out. And now when that happens, it's just like, oh, this is nothing. But the first 10 times I'm like, my palms are sweaty. Like, what? I've lost control of the room. It's a weird world.
But I went to visit. Actually, Michelle was with me, and we went to the Strat, and Butch was like, I'll get you a spot on the show. And it was like the late show. It was probably like the 10 o'clock show. And as soon as I get out there, Brandt, the fire alarm starts going off. And I was like, what is happening? I was like, I thought this was going pretty well. And then it stopped. And then I was like, okay, I guess we're good, right? And then it started again. And everybody's like, no, keep going. It's fake. And I was like, do this for fun? Like, this is not usual. And then by the third time, they're like, yeah, everybody needs to go. I'm like, is this a thing? Like, but it was like, well, whatever, I don't care. So,
well, that's another fun part, is you just never know. That's something we could laugh about. You're like, if a fire alarm goes off any other job, it's like, no one's ever like, ignore it, keep going. And then the third time you're like, no, ignore it. They're like, no, let's go. It's like, well, you just get that's what's wild. Yeah.
I started. So I had been doing stand-up for a bunch of years, and I eventually got a job at like a real studio for PBS, hosting the show, but with nice ladies in it. And I just remember being like on the set, and they were like, wanted to reshoot something. So people just kept coming out to, do you need anything? Do you want anything? Do you need, and just catering to me in a way that was so off-putting. I was just like, no, I'm fine. Why do you keep asking me? So like, if you need anything, are you hungry? Do you want would you want something to drink? I'm like, sure, I'll take something to drink. They're like, what would you like? Would you like a Snapple? We don't have any, but we can send somebody. I'm like, I'm fine with water. Like I was like, nobody's cursing at me. Nobody's showing their boobies. I was like, I'm fine. Like it's so funny because when you are functioning at such a high stress level all the time and that's your regular job. When you go to like a real job, I'm
Yeah.
like, someone's gonna throw a bottle at me while we're working. They're like, no, this is a fancy place.
Yeah, that's I'm with you. I'm always like I'm like I need nothing. We're the most. We just need to just turn on the mic because sometimes if you do these bigger shows, they're like, what do you need? The green. I'm like I need nothing, and we're also just trained to like just be low maintenance and just be like they never let us really feel like stars until you're like a big star. You're just like, hey, do your little thing because we have a band tomorrow. We have a magician. We have important people coming, but you guys do your little jokes. And here's a bottle of water, and you're just like, yes, thank you so much. Can I have my $50? But yeah, it's when you. That's what like when I lived in LA. Some of that stuff I'd be around, and I was like, this is such a. And you're also just like, this is such a waste. What a waste of time.
I
No one needs to
know.
go get me a Snapple. Let this
No,
poor mom go home to her kids. She
but I
showed me
mean,
soccer videos of her kid. Let her go to her kid's game. We
yeah.
don't need a
I'm like, I'm
Snapple from.
fine. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
all good here. No, it is. It's funny.
What did you
So
want to be growing up?
so funny. So in 8th grade, Brandt,
Uh-huh.
I think I wanted to be a music teacher because I was really good at piano. I'm a classical piano player. But then everybody in 8th grade yearbook was putting that they wanted to be a fashion designer. So I changed it to fashion designer. Now, I know you've met me and you've seen my clothes. There's zero reason this should have been on
You got good style.
No, I don't. I have horrible sides. Mostly, if Marshall's is a style, then yes. And but then it was funny because I love home renovations. Like that's my thing. There was a time where I had like a book and I would do drawings of like houses and I was really good at it. But nobody ever said, Dina, you're really smart. You should go to architecture school. They were like, you should be a comedian, like that. So I don't know. I don't know what I thought. I probably something in music. It was something I was good at, but never comedy. Just like you're saying in Wyoming, nobody was saying South Jersey. Like now, like my kids grew up knowing lots of comedians.
Yeah.
But most people grow up, they don't know any. Like they're like, who's a comedian? You know, like it's still like I'm at the dentist. They're like, what do you do? I'm like, I'm a comedian. They're like, it's a weird occupation, but
wait,
yeah,
when you were Miss New Jersey, could you have done stand up? Has anybody ever done stand up at a pageant?
I think somebody has, but like you're doing the same talent, multiple nights in a row.
Yeah.
So it's not like it would be,
That'd be wild though.
Yeah, no. And I would probably do dirty stand up. So probably wouldn't go over.
You'd win.
But I was slinging jokes backstage like crazy. I had the best time for somebody that lost. I had the best, the most fantastical time compared to the girls that won. I was like, no, I'm going to lose. There was no expectation. Jersey was taking it home this year. So like, I just had a great time. But what did you want to be when you were younger?
I wanted to be a basketball. I wanted to be a basketball player. I spent my whole life doing that like a moron. And then I really like I was going to be a teacher. I really want to be a teacher and a coach because I had so many special. I mean, we didn't talk. I have a terrible dad who was in prison the whole time I was a kid and out of prison. So, and I come from a small town. So, the people in my town, like coaches and teachers, knew that my dad was bad. So they really had a monster effect on me, and I just loved. I'm still, close. It's weird. I'm 47 years old, and I go home and I'm like, "Hello, Mr. Stowe, Mr." I still call him. They're like, "Hey, we're friends." I go, "I know, but you're always like special." So I wanted to be a teacher, and then I went to college mainly just to play basketball, and then I just didn't like college because I was just going to be a PE teacher. So, and I didn't have a lot of money, so like the requirements, and I was like, "Why do I have to take all these classes? I just need to throw balls out and." Tell kids to put on shorts, and just college wasn't for me. So, but I would have, sometimes I wish I would have been a teacher, except for all my teacher friends, they hate it now. It's like it's a job that they don't, I think it's a lot harder. And between the phones and the parents, they're like, I grew up with teachers that came from teachers, their parents were teachers. And now I asked my teacher friends that are still doing it, like, they're like, I wouldn't, my kid, it's like police officers. Everyone want to be a police officer, and now I don't know what.
She gets shoes thrown at her. So
yeah, I can't believe it. So,
and you're not allowed to throw them back.
Teacher was you. Yeah, just keep them. So yeah, I don't know. Teacher would have been it, but then I got on this weird path, and now I mean, it's like lame to say, but this doesn't feel like a job. Like I have to go. It's like they tell you, like if you have a job you love, you'll never work a day in your life. I was like, that's the dumbest. Because when I first had a job, I was like, this is the dumbest thing I ever heard. And now I get to go do a show, and I'll have a couple beers and do 45 minutes, and it doesn't even feel like it's so dumb. It's wild that when like nurses or people come up to me like, your job's so hard. I was like, oh, my job is so dumb. You guys are like, or when I go perform for the military, that's when it gets real weird. Like, thank you, and you know, I'm like, you guys are away from your families and doing like stuff. I just told dumb, dirty jokes. It's so dumb that we get credit for being, but it is. I mean, I don't know. It's just like I think it's just making it through. Well, I always tell people like the travel. Like this week's hard for me. The shows are easy, but you pay me to be here at the Stratosphere to fly and rent a cars and bad food and like the shows I do for free. You pay me for everything else.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Well, good. Well, who are you on with tonight?
I don't know. There's a couple locals I'm headlining, so they rotate here. So I'll do that, and then maybe I'll stick around and watch Butch. So they do a good job of which I always. Some people bring their own people, but I like to just meet other comics. So it's kind of a rotating opener. So we'll see. Actually, my buddy Tony's in town, so he's going to host this. A funny guy named Tony Rogers from Albany. I always say it wrong. People in New
Albany.
York get so mad. Albany, from Albany, New York. So he's hosting, so that's cool, and that's another cool thing. You get to see your friends sometimes; they just show up. So he showed up last night. I was like, "Hey, can you let him host tomorrow?" So get him a little money, and I get to work with him. So
That's awesome. Well, I hope we get to work together again
yeah,
soon.
I know. Tell her we all well, you crushed it so hard. You don't. They're making you headline now.
You're so funny.
I was just
Well,
saying you could do the shows, but you killed it.
I'll have to make sure my mom's with me. I'll be like, Mom,
Yeah.
Brent
Bring the
needs you.
whole crew. Everybody I met that week was awesome. Your boyfriend, your mom, everybody was so. Michelle, I know you wanted to kill Michelle. No, I'm joking.
He knows.
uh,
He
I was
knows.
giving her crap. I was like, oh, because you guys stayed together the whole time. I was like, oh, you
We
guys probably
did.
want to kill each other.
We did. Yeah.
And you should come to Denver.
I know. I would love to. That would be so fun.
You would do
I love
great.
Denver. I really like it. We flew in for a show once and literally flew in, did the show, and left. So we weren't there for very long. I've been to Boulder a few times.
There's a good theaters. You would crush it. So
yeah,
I know you're killing them. But if you ever need any help, I will vouch for you anywhere. And you'll have to come out to Denver. We'll have fun. Bring your mom.
Oh, that'll be fun.
She'll get with the altitude. She'll get wasted.
I'm going to say goodbye to you, but hang on because I want to talk to you after the show. But let's hear for Brandt. Make sure. How can people follow you and support you, Brandt?
You could just follow me on Instagram at Brandt Tobler, BrandtTobler. I'm trying to finish this book. I'm kind of taking the summer off. I'll do stuff around Colorado, but you go buy my book, Free Roll. It's a book about my life, and I lived here in Vegas for 10 years. I was a runner for like the biggest gamblers, and I carried $100,000 cash with me every day, and all kinds of wild stuff happened. And then I tried to kill my dad. It's a wild story. They're making it into a movie if you're not a reader, but it's on audio. It's on Barnes and Noble, Amazon, everywhere. So you go get my book. Free Roll would be great, and that's it.
That's awesome. Well, Michelle is putting all of your digits into the chat as well.
Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you, Brandt. Hang on. I'm going to come back to you in a minute. But thanks for being here. I'll see you. All right. So listen, Brandt is the best. Do yourself a favor. That book is hilarious. I think I heard most of those stories backstage and I was like, what? So crazy. So thanks for being here. Tomorrow I will probably be taking the morning off because I have to go do a speech at my alma mater, but I will be here tomorrow night for our open mic. So if you'd like to join, you can sign up, go to OneFunnyMother.com and look up the open mic. And that's it. So thanks for watching. Thanks to Michelle for booking Brandt and all the wonderful things she does. And I look forward to seeing some of you tomorrow for open mic, but we'll be back again on Thursday. So have a good night, everybody. Thanks for watching. Bye.